What's good, people? This is Denny from TeaDB, bringing you guys InBetweenIsode 22. Today's InBetweenIsode is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about something that's sort of tea related. Some might argue that it's super tea related, but at least for our channel, I think this is pretty peripheral. But I wanted to talk about kombucha. So, kombucha is this strange fermented drink that uses a few ingredients to make this sour, vinegary, a little slightly effervescent, probiotic, and potentially health restorative drink. First off, here is just a traditional kind of typical kombucha bottle. This is just a GT is the company. It's usually kombucha is living, so like yogurt, kombucha is a living drink, basically, and it's got a bunch of probiotics in it. It also just tastes super great, and it's made using tea, sugar, water, and what's called the kombucha Scoby. And Scoby stands for symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. Can't believe I just pulled that out of my head. And so the Scoby is this combination of bacteria and yeast that eat, and it sounds kind of intense, but they're good ones, and they eat the caffeine, the sugar, and probably some of the other things in the tea, and they convert it to basically, it's not lactic acid. I actually don't know what they convert it to. It's some sort of acidic, vinegary thing. And so it actually removes the carbohydrate and sugars and eats them and then changes them to this more acidic, vinegary, apple cider vinegary, sweet, tangy, slightly effervescent drink. So this is what it looks like in terms of the actual bottle if you were to buy it in the store. But I have kombucha and I've been growing it and making it at home because you guys might know that I have a ton of tea. And so this is a great thing that you folks can do at home to use some of the excess tea leaves that you have that you really don't want to drink, like in any circumstance usually. And you can make tea with it and then feed it to the kombucha, which will basically, the Scoby, which will create kombucha. So here is what it looks like when it is just in a glass mason jar, okay? But the weird gooey part is not visible quite yet. So I'm going to take off the lid here, and this is just a paper filter, coffee filter, and a rubber band. Whoops! And in here, let's see if we can get this on camera. You can see this kind of floating gooey thing on the top. And let's see if we can get this in there. It looks kind of like a jellyfish consistency. Pretty gross looking, frankly. Yeah, pretty gnarly. And I'll show you folks another version of it. Here's a slightly bigger one. It's kind of at the top there. And you can also see another one at the bottom. Awesome videography skills. So to make kombucha at home, you don't need to do much. It's really simple, actually. You can either acquire a Scoby through a friend or buy one on eBay, and that'll get you started a lot faster. And the Scoby, again, is that little like gelatinous gooey thing on the top, and it is what is actually living. I mean, the whole thing is cultured in the sense that there's living organisms throughout the whole liquid. But the actual Scoby is the physical thing that you would need with a little bit of kombucha liquid to start your new batch. So the quick instructions for how to do this. If you were going to make a quart, which is 32 ounces-ish, 30 ounces, 32 ounces, you're going to use a quarter cup of granulated sugar. It's fairly important to use granulated sugar because all of this is going to affect the pH to create an optimal pH for the kombucha Scoby to live and for other bacteria and stuff to not live. So You need the quarter cup of granulated white sugar, half of a cup of either Scoby liquid, the actual kombucha that's living already, or distilled vinegar, white vinegar, water filling up to the rest of the 32 ounces. It has been brewed into tea and brewed for quite some time. You probably want to brew it for 15 or 20 minutes, or just do a 2 or 3 day cold brew, which I have found to be super great tasting. And that's it. And then you add the Scoby. So how it works is brew your tea, it's hot, add the sugar, dissolve it, wait for it to all cool down, and then add the Scoby liquid, the kombucha liquid from a living kombucha culture, or add half of a cup of distilled vinegar. Wait for it to completely cool down to room temperature, add the Scoby, and then let it sit in a relatively warm environment. I keep mine behind my fridge. I have like a little shelf there, and it just stays perfectly warm and it grows really quickly. The other way of doing the exact same process is to literally just take one of these bottles and use it as your kombucha starter. Because kombucha, when you buy it, is living and raw in the store, it essentially has all of the stuff in it to make a Scoby. But because of the pH level, the lack of sugar because it's been digested, and the coldness, the growth is inhibited dramatically. So if you wanted to slow your kombucha down, for instance, because it's growing so much in the summertime, it's warmer, throw it in the fridge. Okay. So, but what you would do is follow basically the same recipe that I listed, but instead of using half of a cup of the kombucha culture liquid from your previous batch, you would just add this. Okay, and then have sugar and tea, and let it sit. And the first time that you make it, it's going to take about 14 to 30 days for the Scoby to get settled and digest all the sugar and make your first batch of kombucha. But once you get a Scoby healthy and going, it happens about every 7 days or so. And it creates this really tangy, effervescent, slightly acidic, and slightly sweet tea drink. And the tea that you use definitely flavors the kombucha. So I've done it with again my cha, but hojicha, and it added a really unique flavor to it. It was really different. And I've also done it with roasted oolongs. I've done it with a wooey oolong. I've done it with a cold brew wooey oolong. And so far, the cold brew oolong has been the smoothest, fruitiest, and most delicious combination. Ooh, so good. And if you have a whole bunch of this extra tea hanging out, or green tea that you kind of didn't get to and is 2 years old, go ahead and just make a whole bunch of kombucha with it. Give it to your friends, whatever. But kombucha is delicious. It's low in sugar, yet has a lot of those sort of effervescent soda-y kind of vibe to it. It's also very probiotic and healthy for you. So this has been kind of a strange in-between-isode for TeaDB, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, awesome. Give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, that's great too. Sorry. But if you want more videos from us, check us out on TeaDB.org, and also subscribe down below. And I think we're going to be coming out with episode 100 in less than 2 weeks, and it's going to be a big one. So stay tuned, and until then, cheers.